Good evening, Cheese Room, and welcome to our Monday night talk show talking about everything Spurs in a week where they well and truly have landed down under. Joining us tonight to talk everything Spurs.
Oh, has he gone?
Oh, I thought I went. Okay.
No, it's definitely Craig. Joining us to talk everything Spurs, it's James. Let's hope your internet's better than last time out. How are you, James?
I'm good, thank you. Been a very long day.
Yeah.
Lovely to be on there to talk about Spurs and enjoy a few beverages.
What you been up to, James? You?
Cleaning, attempting to coach people at a video game, which makes me go a bit mental because people don't listen to you, and then I'm sure you know more about trying to manage people than I do, but frustrating.
Yeah, I know quite a bit, but I'm yet to master managing my Twitter account, if I'm being really honest, because people just seem to want to explode at me day in, day out. But there you go. Craig will be back with us shortly. He is the host tonight, not me. I have the luxury of being a guest, but of Phil being the consummate professional that I am. Good evening, everybody, and good day. In fact, if you're watching from Australia, Spurs have absolutely landed in the land down under. And it's been interesting so far, hasn't it, James? Because the camp looks quite happy, doesn't it?
Everyone seems very in a good mood. The body language seems quite positive. Apparently, Bissouma is the joker of the dressing room, according to Madison. Him and Romero apparently are getting on quite well. That's positive. I'm glad to see there's some, happiness and optimism and not, dour nihilism like there perhaps was for the past 3 years. So that's certainly positive.
Yeah. It's a bit strange, to be honest, isn't it? That, the body language experts on Twitter were all predicting that, Gio, Tongi, Bissouma, all looks a bit moody coming into training a few days ago, but now they're on top of the world. Well, they're under the world, actually, technically speaking. But yeah, it's like a complete 180. Welcome to our members in the chat. Hotspur Sam saying g'day indeed, Sam. And Kerry has been trying to scrutinise Kane's face. I'm sure we will be talking about Kane a bit tonight, hopefully not too much, but yeah, your host is back, Craig.
I'm so sorry.
Hands off.
Went live and then Virgin Media decided to crash on me.
Don't worry, it's fine. I didn't even get around to talking about my snack of choice this evening, which, by the way,
I think it's good because we should talk about snacks, because I'll just start. I've got a big massive tub of pick and mix. Just random.
Diabetes in a box,
Yeah.
Skittles. Well, James, I take your Skittles. Craig, I take your pick and mix, and I raise you a ploughman's lunch. And what do we have in the ploughman's lunch? I hear you all ask. Well, I'm glad you did ask. Jacob's crackers ×2. Very exciting stuff. 4 pickled onions. A Dairy Lee slice or equivalent. Happy cow, unlike the missus, and a little spreader to spread your cheese. What a wonderful snack! So I will be on and off mute, I think, while I'm munching these. But yeah, if you're ever in the UK and you're having a pub, get one of these down your bottle. Look at it. I'm going to try. It looks good. The only concern I have is that these are sold at ambient room temperature, which does worry me slightly because it is cheese. But it's from Austria.
It's Dairy Lee.
It says cheese from Austria. So maybe if HG pops by, we can talk about it. Are we getting any advertising? No, we are. And we are going to talk about Spurs lots, so don't despair. Yeah. Anyway, Craig, I'll shut up now.
Yeah, no, good. It's good. I think the obvious place to start is Tottenham have been now in Australia for a few days. Caller, what have you made of the sort of first few days in Australia? The media coverage from the club's been, I think, it's been really good, actually. But what's been your initial impressions from what we've seen around training and the general vibe around the camp at the moment?
Well, I thought first of all the didgeridoo greeting, etc., was amazing, wasn't it? And all the locals. I'm pretty sure I saw Cam and JP with their grass skirts on doing the haka, at the squad. But look, I think I thought that was pretty unique. I thought that's cool. And then, unfortunately, I follow a few West Ham people, and they got exactly the same thing down under by exactly the same people down under. So I felt like we've been two-timed a little bit by the native Aussies. But look, in general, I think that it's going well, isn't it? Ange is obviously in his element at home. I think the fact that they're playing at the Wacker is pretty cool as well, isn't it? Because it's an iconic cricket ground for those people who like cricket, and kicking a ball around there must be pretty ace. So I think they're all having a bit of a lovely time, and I don't know about you, but I just can't wait to see them. I know it's not going to be a competitive match against West Ham, but it's always a little bit spicy against them. I'm pretty sure we'll want to win because it's West Ham. So it should be entertaining nonetheless tomorrow. And I know we've got some coverage of that, which we'll talk about later maybe. But I think they all look relaxed. I think Ange genuinely wants to give everyone a bit of a go. Probably knows in his mind who's not going to be there and who's going to be there. But he's at least going through the motions of, you've got the opportunity to impress me, which looks great.
I think that's been a step change from previous pre-seasons, and Ange referenced it in his press conference yesterday, of saying that everyone's equal in this squad. Not everyone's going to be here come the end of pre-season. He accepts that the squad's too big. People will be on the train, his analogy he uses. People will be off, but as long as they're here, they're part of his squad, and he'll treat everyone exactly the same. And I think that's been really refreshing.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've had a lot of nepotism in our squad and management for the past few years, whereas this very much looks like everyone's getting an equal chance. It's a meritocracy, if you can believe such a thing in football. We've got certain players that, and Ndombele is the prime example of this. Hasn't worked out under previous managers, but we all know he's insanely naturally talented, technically as well. Of course, why wouldn't you want to give that guy a chance? Okay, hasn't worked under the Italian guy. Okay, who cares? Hasn't worked under grumpy Mourinho. Nuno's irrelevant. Okay, well, Ange must think, well, I don't care. I'm not either of those guys. I'm better. I have a completely different style of man management. They get a chance. And if, they don't show anything in pre-season, then all right, you're off. But if they can show something, and to be fair, their body language is positive, although I'm not an expert in that. They don't look unhappy to be there, do they? So that's a positive sign, right? When these guys who previously it's been cited that they have attitude issues and now they look very happy in pre-season, well, I would say that possibly indicates that Ange's doing something right.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that Ndombele specifically, his whole body language and demeanour feels completely different to what I've seen on any of his previous appearances in pre-season at Spurs. And I don't know, maybe I'm deluded, but I just got this feeling, Caller, that maybe, just maybe, he has a part to play this season.
Yeah, you're deluded. He's off. I think Ndombele, I think he's looked good in pre-season before. I seem to remember Jose doing a load of work with him, taking him out to Wimbledon bloody Common during lockdown and putting the yards in and all the lovely stuff we like to put on Twitter, putting the work in and all the rest of it. But the reality of it is he hasn't put the work in the 3 years, is it, that he's been at the club? Maybe even longer than bloody that now. And I can't see it working out. That said, I hope it does. I hope Ange gets something out of him because, as you've said, he's ludicrously talented. He's ludicrously talented. He's probably the most talented footballer in the squad, although he lost his game of kicky-uppy with Bissouma, so maybe not. But, yeah, I mean, look, it would be like a new signing. I hate it when people say that, but it genuinely would be because he hasn't been around the first team for a couple of years. I think Conte this time last season had him training with the reserves, if I remember right.
He did.
So,
yeah.
It's great to see because you want a confident Tongi and Ndombele on your side when he's playing well. We have seen what he can do in the Premier League. We've seen flashes of it, and every time it's got going, something bad's happened, hasn't it? Yeah. But I think the reality of it is if they get a reasonable offer in for him, then they'll take it. Because why wouldn't they?
Yeah. You mentioned another player there that, to use the analogy, and use like a new signing, Bissouma. He's one of the things I've noticed. I don't know if you've seen it. He properly seems to have come out his shell this pre-season. He seems to be taking almost a lead role in terms of in the dressing room with the way he is with the players, the music on the pitch. I saw a video of the training where he's basically directing players in terms of what to do, where to go, etc. I mean, Bissouma can be massive for us this season, can't he, James?
Yeah, there does seem to be some element of leadership in him. I mean, personally, if anyone other than me is playing the music, I'm going to fight them over it. I don't care. I'm playing the music and you will suffer through it. But, like that sort of character, I always say you have to give a player a year, right? He was playing in a system that didn't suit him, in a midfield position that didn't really suit him. And now he's coming into a completely new system, a more progressive system, much more similar to what he was playing at Brighton. That does suit him. A manager who's probably giving him a bit more belief. And he probably believes in what he's going to be doing a lot more as well, because it's more what he's used to and what he flourished under. If he has the confidence to, talk and walk around like he's saying, that's brilliant. I can see Coolers enjoying his snack. But yeah, no, that's good. We need guys who... I know people will take the he's the Joker, or we need leaders. Okay, you can be that and a leader. Being a leader doesn't just mean slamming your hand on a desk and saying, listen to me. You can be both. So, yes. Welcome, HG.
Hi.
Yeah, welcome, HG. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
Tell everyone why you're late.
Because my wife was discussing children's bedroom for my daughter. That's why. You mean the other stuff? Seb and I recorded a quiz with Oso Spurs and Dr. Tottenham. We recorded that tonight. So whenever they release it, I would very much like it if you watch.
HG, can I just ask a question? Is it a direct competition between you and Seb and the guys from those two podcasts?
So it was a 7-person quiz, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
There were 2 from the Cheese Room, 2 from Dr. Tottenham, and 3 from Oso Spurs. And they decided it was going to be an average. They were going to figure out an average of our points totals more than anything else. But I don't want to give it away because I want people to watch.
No, that's fine. I'm not going to talk about the result or anything like that. I'm just asking, was it head to head?
Yeah, we were against each other. It was like 50 quiz questions. Like if anyone's done Kahoot or their kids have done Kahoot, it was a Kahoot style quiz. So we were all on our mobile phones pushing in the correct answers or incorrect answers. And you had that awful Kahoot music playing in the background. But yeah, so we were all basically playing at the same time. There was one guy asking the questions, but yeah, there was 7 of us actually playing the game.
So we could actually host a quiz like that on here, couldn't we? Using Kahoot or something like that.
Yeah, if you had someone with the time or energy or desire to design a Kahoot quiz like Johnny from Oso Spurs did, then yes, we could do that, absolutely.
Wow. Well, you can place your bets in the chat as to who you think knows the most out of all those illustrious names. So, and then you'll have to watch to find out. Okay.
You know what the aim of any Kahoot quiz is when you were in school, right? It was to come up with the dirtiest name possible that wouldn't get deleted by the teacher.
Kahoot wasn't actually around when I was at school, I don't think, and probably neither of these two chaps either.
I mean, James is not wrong. There are many kids who will put names in that are, let's say, more modern words, and they hope that their 55-year-old teacher doesn't know what it means. And in many cases, they succeed, but usually the sniggering in the classroom gives it away. So the teachers learn quite quickly. But yeah, you have to... as someone who has fallen foul of Kahoot, and I don't really want to say much more than that, picking the right name is very important.
And HD, would it be giving anything away for you to give us a sample?
Oh no, he's
a sample. Is he gone? He means a sample?
He had this problem at the beginning, and every time he gets to the climax of his question, he sort of does that face.
Okay, a sample question.
Yeah, give us a question. Me and James, come on, fastest finger first.
You want me to actually was Teddy Sheringham the Premier League top scorer in 92-93? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, questions like that. I mean,
What's the answer? What's the answer?
Well, the answer is yes, but
Hey.
that was the only 50-50 question I remember. Most of them had 4 answers. My favourite ones were like you had to order them in what happened first.
Okay.
So it was like Spurs putting floodlights in the ground, Spurs winning the Cup Winners' Cup, like things from history, and you had to know which one came first or put them in the right order. That they were quite difficult, but fun at least. But yeah, so it was really good. It was a good quiz.
Craig's back.
Welcome back,
He's on mute, but
Craig.
he's back. He knows he's on mute. Does he know he's on mute? No, he doesn't know he's on mute. There we go. This is going so smoothly, Craig.
You just know it's going to be that night.
I've come on to Monday night tonight to do Craig's appraisal as a host, and so far it's going really well.
Yeah, really good.
Craig, here's a question for you from tonight's quiz. See if you know this.
Go on.
Right?
Yeah.
Who were Tottenham's first 2 opponents in the Premier League?
Oh, that's a great question.
Do you want me to give you some? Do you want me to give you some answers?
Yeah.
Is it
All
multiple choice then? Is it?
Was it Southampton and Oldham? Was it Norwich and Southampton? Was it Southampton and Coventry? Or was it Coventry and Oldham?
Coventry and Oldham, I would go for.
I'm going to go Southampton, Coventry.
Coventry, Oldham.
Yeah, James. Just
B.
guess. I know you weren't alive.
B.
No, I think it was the third one I said. It was Southampton, Coventry. Craig got it right.
There you go.
Oh.
See, well, he's older than me.
All right, here's another one. How many games in that Premier League season did it take Spurs to win a game? Was it 3, 4, 5, or 6?
I remember it. We were not very good. I'll say 5.
I'll go 6.
I guess 5 as well.
Oh, James, why did you copy Caller? You should have copied Craig.
Well, that's what I had in my head.
I am terrible at quizzes. There's a reason I don't represent the cheese room in any quiz function whatsoever.
So there were 50 questions total. Some of them were about Spurs players' wives and girlfriends. So you'd do very well to get 50. I don't think any of us got close to getting 50 right. But
oh look, and we can see it when.
I don't know when they're going to release it. They'll do some editing most likely, but it will be out soon.
So Spurs podcast.
Yeah, they're the ones who organised it. Okay. Spurs, good guys.
Good. There you go.
Good.
Get on over there, have a look at it, and away we go.
Please subscribe to them as well. Like, subscribe to us if you haven't already. But Spurs, their shtick is they just avoid the whole Levy thing. They don't even go there.
It's a good shtick.
So it's all about the football. It's all about the players. It has nothing to do with the owners. It is just they avoid that.
Alienated.
They're really good guys.
Yeah, quite. So, HG, just to get your take then, we were just talking about the tour sort of so far and some of the early views of your opinion on how it's been going so far. What's been your take in terms of, have you been impressed in what you've seen from Ange, the players, the training, the intensity? Where were you at with it in these early days?
I'm definitely impressed with Ange. I mean, to me, he pretty much ticks every box I would want from a manager. And I know we haven't seen the football, but from the actual managerial standpoint of trying to involve everyone and make sure everyone feels included, and he's saying and I think doing the right things. I mean, he knows, and we all know, that some of those players won't be around at the end of August. And he's clear about that too in interviews. So I think that's the overwhelming thing. It's weird to me they've only been there for a couple of days because I feel like they've been there for ages now. But yeah, it seems like we have an adult in charge. I guess that's my overriding feeling. We have someone who is interested in the well-being of everyone who is at the club, whether they're going to be there short-term or long-term. He's interested in I guess that they contribute to the group.
Yeah, it's a very cohesive approach, isn't it? He's got, which is a complete opposite contrast, if you like, to what we've seen under Conte and Mourinho previously, which were they publicly left 5, 6, 7 players at home who were not part of their squad. Whereas he's bringing everyone, and I think I loved his interview yesterday where he talked about treating everyone equally whilst they're part of the squad.
Yeah,
and I think that's amazing.
And it's crazy because like he is very much my way or the highway, just as much as Jose is, and just as much as Antonio is. But it's how you go about it. Like I've always believed that if you are open and honest about what you want to do and what you're going to do, then no one will be surprised when you do it. And he knows that he has to cull the squad. We all know that. The players themselves will surely understand, and some of them may well be hoping to be culled. They may well think that they have a better chance of playing somewhere else. But the fact that he's not hiding it, there's no skullduggery, which again, we're all adults. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like they all understand the business they're in. They're all
us
cutthroat. Yeah, okay, Caller's not an adult, not yet. But so it's just I do think it's nice that there's no reason to be a jerk, and I think Ange is showing that. And again, I don't think what Ange is doing should be that special. But it feels it because certainly at Spurs in recent years, we haven't had managers who were able to do that.
Yeah, quite. James, what's your looking ahead to before we talk about ins and outs and things, looking ahead to the friendly against West Ham tomorrow, what's your sort of expectation in terms of what you expect to see?
4-3-3, hopefully progressive football, regards to lineup. Vicario, Romero, Porro, maybe. I'm not sure who will be at left-sided centre-back. I've seen a lot of people suggest Tanganga, which I think is strange, but he played in the second team in the warm-up game today. Maybe him on the left, maybe Reggie, or Destiny, Bissouma, maybe Ndombele, Maddison definitely, Kulu, Kane, Son, that sort of thing in terms of lineup. I'm just hoping we play football that makes me want to watch Spurs, not just for the sake of watching Spurs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to be a sure thing, isn't it? Interestingly, about these two lineups that have come out today, I don't know if you've seen that, HD Caller, if you've seen those two teams as well, and I'm sure it's true if it's come out in the way that it has. Do you expect that to be the two 11s we see? Because I think what's quite notable there is who's missing.
I mean, possibly. I mean, are you talking about whether they play a half each tomorrow and they just go like that? I did think it was very strange but as you said, noticeable that in one of those 11s, our front three was our front three. Like it was Son, Kane, and Kulusevski all together, and the other one I think was Perisic, Solomon, and Richie. But you're right. The names that weren't involved in those 22, I think the big two were probably Dyer and Lo Celso were not involved in the starting things of that game. But I don't know if we can read too much into it just yet. I think that there will be, I think Ange said it today, all of those players will play some minutes in the next 3 games. But I suspect that considering we've got a Premier League team tomorrow, a Championship team in 3 days' time, and then I have no idea what league team in Singapore, then you would expect that the Singapore game would involve more of the fringe players than maybe tomorrow would. So maybe we can read something into tomorrow's lineup, but to me, at least, we shouldn't be reading anything until we get to the Donetsk game and the Barcelona game, because they're within a week of our opening game. And so I think that there'll be much more. One of those teams that we see in one of those games will be more like the team we expect to see at Brentford. But right now, it's a chance for everyone to get some minutes, everyone to be involved, and I think that's great.
I think HG is absolutely on the money, to be honest, Craig. I don't think you could read anything into it, but I think we all know probably what the strongest team is, certainly in terms of the attacking options. But by the way, what a great reserve attacking lineup that is. Talk about option, and that's before you throw Brian Hill into the mix as well. We've got attacking players in spades, haven't we? There's no issue at that end of the pitch, but I think it's likely that we'll see Kulu, Son, and Kane start the Premier League campaign up top, unless something drastic happens in pre-season. But
It is great. I mean, thank you to Adrian for putting those names down because we didn't have time to do that. But yeah, like Dombele is there. Like if we all think Bissouma is the first 6, and we all think Maddison will come in and play, and we see Kulusevski, Kane, and Son, to see Ndombele there, like to me, I think Ange probably sees him as the best option right now. You can argue about the back 4, and I think a lot of us probably would, but if Romero's there, you could guess that first 11 with Vicario in goal might be somewhat close to what we see.
I think that's the closest. It's certainly closer than the other 11, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, you look at Reguilon. We've spoken about it on the show before. He's our only real recognised left back in a 4. So that's fairly logical, albeit a surprise because he's been away for so long and spent a lot of time injured, by the way. Almost got injured, by the way, by Romero in the first training session. Did you see the picture of his bloodied leg on Instagram? Vicario is obviously going to play a goal. Porro is going to be Porro or the mighty Royale with Cheese at right back. Romero will definitely play. So it's really that Tanganga. The question marks in that side for me are Tanganga, Reguilon, and Dembele. Really, I think the rest of it, that's probably what will start the season. Maybe Porro actually for Royal. I'm not sure about that. But what I suppose my point is, I think we already know what the probable starting 11 will be at the start of the season, and I think unless someone does something special in pre-season, I think that or we sign a back, God forbid.
Wait, so you think Ndombele will start?
No, that's what I'm saying. I say his place is questionable. Tanganga's place is questionable. Reguilon, Porro, I think probably will get the nod start of the season, but it'd be interesting to see what happens because when you look at the two sides, that's not bad sides, is it? Really, when everyone talks about how crap we are defensively, but as we said on the show on Friday, we're going to be defending on the halfway line, not in our penalty area, so it might be a different ball game.
And the thing is, like, of those 22 players, that means there are 9 players there that aren't involved, that are actually on the trip. And so, although there is a few kids like Scarlett, I mean, Divine is there. Yeah. I just think that if I was like, I don't think Ange will worry too much about this, although I think I probably would. This idea of we're playing Brentford away. So I do think we'd have to have maybe a bit more steel. So I might go Højbjerg over Dombele in that situation, just because of who we're playing. But I'm not sure Ange will really think like that. I think he will probably want to attack every game in the same way. But there is part of me that thinks that if Brentford go with their usual midfield 3, which might have Janelt and Norgard, who are both quite defensive and 6 foot, that we might need to be a bit more solid just in case. But maybe Ange is just going to do Ange ball, and no matter who we're playing.
Yeah, that's how I think it will go.
Certainly interesting times, and I think HG's on the money. I think we'll get an idea when we're back at White Hart Lane, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, whatever your flavour of stadium naming is, the Levy Dome. That's just upset half the people watching. Hit the like button now. It's quite. You'll get the view of probably what's to come in those 2 matches, and the Barcelona one. I mean, the timing of that is quite funny. It's 5 days, I think, before the season starts. So that is. Yeah. I would imagine there'll be a lot of rotation in that game. I actually think that the home game against Dynamo, is it Dynamo Kiev? I don't know.
Donetsk, Shakhtar
Donetsk. I think that will be the one where we see actually probably the side play together that may start the season. And me and Craig have got front row seats in the Tunnel Club for that. Better than Steve Diver's seats actually for that game. He's about 5 rows back, which I'm sure we'll have no banter about that at all, will we, Craig? But
we won't at all. No,
not at all. Well,
so we'll be sending you messages saying we need more Ange Cam.
Yeah,
get on it.
Go for it.
Well, we're going to have
go on
2 Ange Cams. It'd be me and Caller going for it.
Yeah. Well, we could do one on each half of the,
No, Craig, I want you to watch the game. Caller can be the filmer. That's fine. I want Craig to watch the game.
I mean, look, I don't know about you guys. I'm just excited that football is nearly back. It feels like a long time, although it hasn't been that long. But we're only 20 days from the start of the season. We've got the first friendly tomorrow. I'm excited, man. And Tottenham do this to us. I know we were chatting about it earlier. Everyone's getting a little bit optimistic and excited, and of course, that's probably a really foolish thing to do because Ange himself has said it. Look, it's going to take time, and it's going to take probably a few cracks at it before he gets it right. And we've got to give him the time and the patience that he absolutely deserves. But can't help but be excited. It feels like I've been away from the stadium for too long.
It's the hope that kills you.
James, is results important? I know you would say results are not important in pre-season, but in terms of the momentum that Ange is trying to build and getting the players on side, is it important that we put some good performances in this pre-season?
Performances in pre-season are, I would say, more important than results, right? I mean, I never read too much into pre-season because, we won the Audi. We won the Audi Cup, and then we went on to be terrible and in 14th, right? And we beat Bayern Munich, so it's whatever. It's irrelevant. It's West Ham, and I want us to win, so I can tell my West Ham supporting friend to go shove it. Basically, he's been really annoying recently. So of course, I want us to win tomorrow. But the most important thing for me is we're playing in the way Ange wants us to play, and the players are buying into that. Because as long as that's happening, it will. Okay, maybe it'll take a little bit of time, as it did at Celtic, right? But we'll be good. We'll be golden. So I'm not too fussed if we have a couple shoddy performances. Pre-season is the time to have shoddy results, right? I'd much rather in pre-season than the actual season. As long as it looks like we're going in the right direction, that's what matters to me.
Yeah. What does that look like to you, HD, in terms of West Ham tomorrow?
As in, what's more important?
What's going to show we're going in the right place, the right direction?
Look, I mean, people always talk about it's going to take time to adapt. And I understand Ange for saying that because, like anything, you should get better over time. You're not going to be amazing at it to begin with. But I think even when Conte took over, we saw quite quickly the things that Conte was wanting them to do. We recognised it very early in games about those little balls forward to the wide attacking midfielders who would then spin off as they lay it back. So I don't think it will take too long to see Ange ball being tried. I think the idea that we'll press high and we'll want to win the ball, that doesn't need much adaptation.
I'm expecting it tomorrow, HG. I want to see it tomorrow.
No, I mean, I think we will see it tomorrow. And I know that everyone in the comments is talking about the centre-backs, and I understand that we all know we need new centre-backs. Ange knows that too. But at the end of the day, to me, centre-backs, their adaptation to what Ange wants them shouldn't be that difficult at all, because in theory, they won't be doing much apart from playing it around between themselves or passing it forward to the better players. That's really their job in Ange's system. So I want to see the cohesiveness, because I think that can be there, because again, most of these players have played with each other. They do know how to play with each other. It's just a question of doing it further up the pitch. That's what we want to see. So if we put pressure on West Ham and if we are looking to make life difficult for them in their half, then you'll see a different Spurs to what we've seen the last 12 months. And for most of us, that has to be an improvement.
Just pressing. I want to see pressing. Yeah. I want to see us winning the ball back quick. All the principles that we liked about Poch's team almost. Winning the ball back quick, moving it quickly. And for once, I don't want to see us outnumbered in midfield, because it feels like for the last 24 months at least, that's what's been happening every single week. And every single week we moan about it. So, I think having three midfielders in there, having a team that presses, not just a couple of players, a team that's going at you. That is the best, that's the way the best teams play, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it should be good. Whilst we're talking about the West Ham game, should we just touch base on our live watch-along we've got going on tomorrow? what time's kickoff tomorrow? Is it 11 a.m. tomorrow? Isn't it
11 a.m. UK time. Yeah.
So we're going to be live on Cheese Room with a watch along with our Australian. I believe it's JP and Cam.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come along as well, I think, and have a watch of the game. So if you haven't got anything else better to do like work, then please do come along and watch.
Grab a tinny.
Will be watching.
Grab a tinny, get a Castlemaine 4X, pop another shrimp on the barbie, mate, and join the Aussies. I'm expecting JP and Cam to have like their cork hats ready, and some Fosters, some Castlemaine 4X, etc. And
Fucking shite. No, that's not Aussie. That's Scottish.
I've got to say though,
don't give up the day job, James. Well, there isn't a day job, but you know what I mean,
mate.
Yeah, actually, I know Australia's.
No, sorry, go ahead.
So I was just saying, I know Australia's a big place, but I'm surprised that they're not going. Actually,
Perth we covered it. Perth is just
it's a long way.
It's like 7 hours on a plane or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't think it's 7. It's probably about 4 or 5. But it is a long way. Australia is a massive place.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like if Spurs were going for a longer time, okay. But if you think we landed late Saturday night their time,
yeah,
and so they've been there Sunday, Monday,
play tomorrow and we're gone.
Play tomorrow and we're gone. So I wouldn't make that trip if I was in Australia. I love the Spurs, but I'd rather spend $2,000 to go to England and actually watch them in the stadium than to spend maybe a third of that and go to Perth. I mean, and plus it's winter over there anyway, so there's no real benefit. But I'm sure some have done it. But I could see us going for a longer time next summer. I'd put money on that.
I don't think we'll go there. I think it'll be the States or something next year.
I just think if Ange has done well, then they will want to capitalize on that. And we may not do Singapore and Thailand again, but the fact that we have an Australian manager, I know they've only got 25 million people, so it's not as if we're going to gain many followers. But as we've seen, the Celtic fans are now watching our show because we've got Ange in charge, and Australians who may support Liverpool or wherever, they like Ange too. So Spurs are going to become almost a second team for a lot of these people, even if they were Brits originally. They want to see Ange do well. So I just think that it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, as I said on one of the previous shows, I would rather they just stayed in Europe for each season. I really do think that. I don't want us to go so far. We don't need to do that. But if it was to happen, then it would make sense.
I mean, it's a bit baffling, really, flying all that way. And then where are they off to next? Thailand?
Thailand's next, yeah.
I mean, that's still, 5 hours from Australia easily, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the only place within 2 hours of Australia is New Zealand.
Yeah.
And that might be just over 2 hours. Everything else is a very, very long way away.
Yes, it's a lot of travel, but there you go. I mean, apparently, I was chatting to Paul Fellows, obviously president of the Spurs, earlier today, and he was sending me some pictures because he's at the stadium. I think he's got a signing session with the team tomorrow, whatever time that is in the Australia. Must be before the game or something. And they've got various Spurs events. He is loving life, and of course he's over there. And he shared some footage with me of inside the stadium. There were 6,500 people there to watch an open training session. Cool. 6,500 people to watch a training session, and the queue. I mean, it showed. I'm sure you've seen the queue on social media, for tickets round the block, or not tickets, but just entry round the block. Unbelievable amount of support. In a country that worships Aussie football, whatever that is, and cricket and rugby. So it was. Soccer or football is, absolutely not the first sport in Australia. I think it's fair to say, and to see that level of support for Spurs for just a friendly a workout basically is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, as Keith says here, maybe they just went because there was nothing else to do. I don't know if that's true about Perth. I've never been, but I'm sure Keith knows more about it than I do.
The Waka.
Was there a set-up bar like next to the training session, the open training session, where they were giving away cheap pints? Maybe that's
I
what
don't
they
think
were.
anything's cheap in Australia, actually, James. I think it's quite an expensive country, but I'm pretty sure that there probably was a bar open. I can see that Levy's probably shipped out a few cases of one of our own or something near its sell-by date. Here, try this limited edition Hotspur beer.
You know what they say about Australia. If you go to a bar or a cafe and order a coffee, you get a beer. So, who knows?
I didn't know they knew that about Australia. I heard that everything kills you that wants to kill you there, but there you go.
That's why you drink all the beer. It kills all the disease, doesn't it? It's ethanol.
Cam's in the chat. Dave Harris. So we've got a real Aussie and a plastic Aussie in the chat. Hi, Dave. Hi, Cam.
Brilliant.
Hi, Dave
Moving on the conversation a bit then, let's talk about what's been going on with Kane. This week, over the weekend, Bayern chairman, HG, you probably know more about him than me, has come out and said it into the press that we have a promise. I think it was a promise was the term he used with Harry Kane. He's committed, he's promised to sign for us. It's just about Levy naming a price. What did you make to his comments?
I think probably there are grains of truth in it, and it might be embellished in various ways to help Bayern. If Levy hasn't given them a price, well, that's kind of funny. I mean, if Levy's just basically saying we're not selling him regardless, and Bayern are just waiting, assuming that surely at some point we will name a price. If I'm Bayern, I'd be moving on. Frankly, I mean, it's weird that they're hanging around waiting for the school gates to be open, like this weird. Yeah, why did I say that? It's because I work at a school, probably. But it's just a bit odd. Like, I understand that it might work in Germany because they are the top dog, right? So everyone at some point wants to sign for Bayern. They've been taking Dortmund's best players. Do you know what I mean? It is very much a one-team league. It's not as if they take everyone but Dortmund. Most of Dortmund's players want to go to Bayern at some point. So I just think that I'm pretty certain that Kane has probably said to them, "I am open," in the same way that he said that to Spurs. But I think that Kane, rightly or wrongly, recognises that right now Levy still holds the cards, and Kane won't say one way or the other what he really wants. I'm surprised at that. I am, because weirdly enough, I think that this season, given where we are with no European football, if he came out and said, "I would like to leave," a lot of Spurs fans would probably be like, "Okay, we'll get we get good money for you. You get what you want. We get what we want. Everyone wins." But the fact that he's not done that leads me to believe that he probably wants to see where he is going to be a year from now. But again, if that was the case, why not come out and say that? Like, there's probably more negative to saying I want to be available on a free than anything else. But it just strikes me that his inability to say anything in either direction means that Bayern are just going to be led along. Spurs are probably going to be led along, and Spurs fans too.
I mean, in the same way that Bayern, that Kane isn't really saying much, call it. Andrew isn't saying anything either, is he? He's batting it straight back down the middle, isn't he? In terms of not saying whether he will or he won't be or what his plans are. What did you make to them comments? There's been a lot made of it on social media, obviously.
Well, I think that Levy and the Bayern president, maybe they came to a gentleman's agreement, which we all know is worth not a lot when you make a gentleman's agreement with Daniel Levy. But in terms of Ange, he plays with a pretty straight bat, mate, to quote an Aussie, and I think he's handled it brilliantly. He's given positive vibes. He's basically said, doesn't matter if Kane stays or goes, I'm going to build my team regardless. And you have to admire that, because it would be very easy for him to sort of blame the club, blame the chairman, blame the player. But he's literally saying, well, it doesn't make any difference to me. We just need to know where we stand and we move on, which I think is pretty much where most of us are at as well, isn't it? So I think.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to take up Dave-O's comment here, right? There's no obligation on Kane to say something, but if you don't say anything, then people will come up with whatever they want to say. And for Kane, if he came out and said, I'm focused on Spurs, that would be great, but he's not even saying that. So it does feel a bit like I'm protecting Kane more than like he can say I'm focusing on Spurs, and that still be true based on what his overall feeling is. But unfortunately, if you say nothing, people will put words there for you. We've seen that in other cases too. And so I expect Kane to leave on a free, right? To me, that's the smart thing. That's the thing that he should be doing. But if that's your end goal, there are ways to get to that without looking like Mr. Aloof who doesn't care, because that's how he comes across.
Is there a world where Bayern puts an offer in of 100 million plus pounds? Are they capable? Have they got that sort of money?
Yeah, they've got the money.
They have, yeah.
I mean, all these teams have got the money. Spurs could put £100 million down on a player if they wanted to. They just don't want to. You just stretch it out over a long period of time, don't you? Like what Chelsea have done. So it's not. I don't think the money is an issue for Bayern, richest club in Germany by a long way. HG will know more about it than me, but I'm pretty sure he'd agree with me on this. I don't think there's any doubt they've got 100 million quid. I think the judgment call they have to make is: do they want to pay 100 million, get him, or 120, 130? I heard, but if they want to pay 120, 130, get it done. Because if they don't, the pressure is actually on them, because if they don't, there's a good chance they'll miss out on him come next season, because all of a sudden Man United's probably on the there'll be a host of top clubs on the table, including the English ones, that can offer just as big contracts, that can offer opportunities of trophies, and he gets to stay in England. So I think the pressure is actually, and I think that's what we're seeing in the press, the pressure is on Bayern to get their man, and they're just trying any sort of tactic to do so.
You are absolutely right. Like if the case right now is Spurs have said it's Bayern or no one, right? Like that's pretty much where they are. It's a foreign team or no one, but that looks like only being Bayern. And then
PSG, by the way, are in the mix now, by the look of it.
Yeah, no, but I don't see that happening. I think that is just nonsense. No PSG representative has come in the press and said all the things that Bayern have done. But you're right. Like, if Bayern don't get him now, they may well not get him. And so, if I was a Bayern fan in Bayern's position, I would say, okay, we'll move on. There's no reason to hang around for him when we know that maybe deep down he doesn't want us anyway. The fact that he's open to things, well, you know what? I'm open to a holiday to Morocco. It's not my first choice, but if someone else is paying, I'm open for it. That seems to be how it is. So, like, as much as Kane is acting in his own interest, which of course everyone will be, if I'm buying, is it really in their interest to wait? Because how long are they going to have to wait? I'm just not sure it is in their interests.
I guess for me, I just wonder whether the way that Bayern are going about it publicly, does that entrench Levy into a position of not wanting to do business with them, or to make it even harder for them to do business?
I don't think it helps.
Yeah, I agree. I think the more stupid things that president dude says, the harder it becomes for him to not pay the fee if you want your man. Because, right, whatever you think of Daniel Levy, he becomes very entrenched in his position, and that he's just going to dig a deeper trench. Like, if you piss him off, we've seen it happen before. We'll see it happen again. Whether that's right or wrong, that is immaterial. That's what he does. So I did laugh at this, though, by Davo, the focus of supporters. The focus of supporters, Davo, should be supporting the team. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the centre back if we'll get to that point. But you're absolutely right, caller. In terms of the Bayern comments, again, a lot has been said on social media about this. Is essentially Bayern admitting to tapping up Harry Kane. Is that how you see it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
They have.
it is, isn't it? Yeah.
They haven't exactly tried to hide it, have they?
No,
I mean, when
but
the
do you
president
think-
of
do
the
you
club coming out and saying all this, he's basically chatting
Yeah.
a load of shit. Then
Do you think though Kane's actually gone and met them, or his representative have
I
gone
think
and had
his
a meeting?
representatives have probably met them, but I
Yeah.
think his representatives probably meet a lot of people. So you know that's their job, right? That is what your agent is paid to do, to get the best option for you. He would be negligent. I mean, it's Charlie Kane, so there's a good choice he is negligent, but he would be incredibly negligent if he didn't explore all the opportunities for his client, right?
Yeah, you have to know what's available.
Yeah.
If someone said, okay, Bayern or Spurs, well, Kane's first question is, well, how much? Right? If I'm having to uproot my family, how much? What is in it for me? And the only way they'll know that is if someone has spoken to Bayern.
Yeah.
And even then, there would probably be some kind of negotiation. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, great, we'll take your money, thanks, Bayern. Like, Kane will then work on it. So, I mean, maybe Charlie would, but I feel like when all these players know each other relatively well, do you know what I mean? Like, even though they play against each other, like a lot of them have played against each other, have played with each other previously. They played together at internationals. Like, they're not strangers. They probably talk, and so I'm sure Bayern would have had an idea already that Kane was interested, and I'm sure that Kane would have had an idea that Bayern were interested. There are still 6 weeks to go until this all ends. And that's a long time in some kind of negotiation poker.
Craig's frozen again. Virgin, less than anyone watching in the UK. Virgin Media can do that to a man. So don't have your broadband from them would be my advice. I don't know what his next question was, but should we talk about centre backs, HG? Because Harry Kane's boring, isn't it?
It does seem to be something that people want to talk about in the comments. So yeah,
chuck your questions in the comments, and we'll get through them. This is how. Oh, Craig's back! Craig's back! He's back!
I'm back.
Oh my god! I was having to take over again, Craig. This surprised me.
Sorry, caller. I don't know this Virgin Media. Honestly, I think I moved to Virgin because you recommended them. I'm sure you said to me.
I have absolutely not.
I'm sure there's pictures in the group chat of you boasting about your speed, your internet speed.
I'm on Sky. What? And BT before that?
I'm sure you used to be Virgin.
So funny. The reason why that's so funny, Craig, is that while you were gone, Caller spent about 20 seconds having a go at Virgin Media. So for you to come back and be like, you recommended it, was perfect. Absolutely perfect.
I definitely didn't.
Right, I'm going to go searching. I'm going to go search.
Go search. You'll find no evidence. There are no tweets existing that incriminate me there.
Diver will find
James
it.
Maddison
Diver
and
will find it.
And the Adama Traore. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I can't remember where we were then. Remind me, sorry.
I think we're done with Kane.
I think we're done with
discuss Kane anymore.
Can we just talk about the other topical thing of the day is the centre back situation? It doesn't seem to be going away. This constant thing about why we haven't signed two centre backs and taken them to the tour. I guess my first question. I know it is outrage. So HG, the obvious question is why haven't we signed two centre backs and taken them on the tour?
Because I suspect Ange is just looking at what he has. I think Dyer has no long-term future, and Ange knows that. But there are reasons to maybe keep him around. I think Sanchez has no long-term future, but again, Ange is thinking, well, if he does well, maybe. Like Spurs fans have a history of those players, but Ange doesn't. And so if Ange thinks, and we talked earlier about Tanganga being in this first 11 side, and I'm sure a lot of Spurs fans are going, what? Tanganga? Are you crazy? The guy has been sixth choice for about 2 seasons. But, at the start of the season before last, when we played Man City under Nuno and we won, he played really well that game. And when he came in under Mourinho, he was playing left back, right back, and didn't do too badly. So if Ange has decided that maybe that this person could provide something, then that would be a reason to have him on the tour. Or it might just be we don't really know what we have and we'll make a decision afterwards. Like, again, we all think that long term there are going to be changes and short term there will be changes. I mean, I really do believe that. But for Ange, I'm just not sure whether it really matters that they were on this Far East tour. To me, that's less of an issue. I think 1st of August, it will start becoming more of a thing. None of us want to see the same defenders that we saw under Antonio, especially at centre back. But I'm not stressed about it in the way that others might have been.
No, I'm the same. I tweeted, I said exactly the same as you, HG, that he's probably just looking at what we've got and giving him an option. We don't see what sort it looks like, and he'll make his decisions, won't he?
Like, I'm always reminded of the summer we signed Pochettino, right? When Pochettino took charge, and we let Sigurdsson go in the deal that got Ben Davies and I think Michel Form or whatever.
Yeah.
We let Sigurdsson go, and I think very quickly Pochettino regretted letting Sigurdsson go. Now, obviously, Siggy wanted to go because we had Ericsson at the time and then various other players, but I think Pochettino understood that he would have been a good player for what we were trying to do. And that's probably what Ange wants to avoid. We don't need to sell tomorrow. We're not Leicester, who needed to clear the money before the end of June. Spurs will get rid of them when it suits them, and that may well be at the end or towards the end of August. Getting new defenders in, as much as we would love to say it, so we could be like, oh, Van der Ven is going to be the new Vertonghen. We won't know that if he's played three games against Lion City Sailors, Leicester City, and West Ham. We won't know it. So I understand that we're all impatient and we all want to see these things, but Ange has only been in charge for about 2.5 weeks. I think that if we waited another 2.5 weeks, that takes us to the first week of August. That's okay. It's okay. Ange is the one who's making those decisions. That we could have signed someone in June before Ange took over, but that never really made any sense. The people that probably were signed then were ones we already had, like Porro and Kulusevski. Everyone else has been once Ange joined.
I think with the centre backs, I think there's a lot of people very angry about it because we know it's been a long term issue with Spurs. So the anger is understandable, and I suppose it's born out of fear, isn't it? It's those people are scared. They're scared that we're going to have another season like last or worse, because the way they see it is that, which is quite basic if you want my honest opinion, is that those defenders are going to leak goals because they're not very good defenders. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that, because so much depends on the system and the way we play. And I think whilst we know we need defenders, I think you've got to trust Ange to make the right decisions and trust that he is getting the say in things. He's openly said he had the say in the goalkeeper and James Maddison. So why would you not think then that, unless you think there's some massive conspiracy theory, which personally I don't subscribe to, but I think we also do this thing where we line up a few players, the old Paratici tactic, and then pick the best option. So it's.
So I mean, and the funny thing is, we take Dyer and Sanchez, they're the two that have been around the longest, right?
Yeah.
They're the two that most people want to see go, and they're the two that, with only a year left on the deals, could easily go.
Yeah.
But the Dyer and Sanchez we saw under Mourinho, where we basically camped on the edge of our own box and were fluking games 1-0, 2-0, we were top of the league, right? They got us top of the league with a back four involving Doherty and Reguilon probably at left back, right? It's a while ago, but they got us to that position. None of us liked the football, but we appreciated the results, right? And then under a similar system under Conte, where we invited teams on, they struggled, probably because they didn't have Sissoko and Højbjerg and another 4 defenders in front of them. So with those 2 defenders, you could sit there and make a claim that they are good enough in certain systems. I think all of us think that Dyer especially is not going to be good enough for what Ange wants to do, because he likes to have pace at the back, and Dyer doesn't have it. That's it.
Yeah. And I think that's a fair shout. I think where we're playing a high line, you do need centre backs with pace. I think we need 1 centre back minimum. But I don't think the rush is as urgent as people think it is, if that makes sense. It would be nice, but I think you do have to trust Ange and let him see what he's got. Let him see what he's working with.
I definitely want one before we play Brentford. I mean,
Yeah.
clearly that needs to happen. But again,
If you start with Romero +1, that's not, Romero's good in that system for me. I think he'll be absolutely fine. But you do also have to take into account the fact that 11 people will be pressing the ball. That
not
we'll be
not all 11.
All right, we will be defending as a team. Yeah, so the defense will not just be basically camped in their own half, inviting pressure for 90 minutes. If you stick any centre back in the Premier League and pressurise them for 90 minutes, they will make mistakes. It's a fact, and that's whether it's Virgil van Dijk, or whoever you want to talk about.
Yeah,
it's an inevitable fact because those players defending the ball for 90 minutes is hard. It's lots of concentration. One mistake and it's a goal in the Premier League, and that's what happened with Spurs under Conte's system. We invited shit tons of pressure. That's reality.
It's interesting that, like, if you look at Dyer and Sanchez, if I saw them in a one-on-one battle, right, against the centre forward, which is probably what we're going to see quite a bit from our centre backs, I don't trust Dyer to win that battle, and I don't trust Sanchez to win that battle. Sanchez might be big and strong, but you've got to be smart. In a one-on-one situation, you've got to be smart. And Romero is a very aggressive defender. Doesn't always win those one-on-ones, but more often than not, he does. Tanganga, as a fullback, showed that he could do that. He could play a one-on-one system and win that. Like that game against Grealish.
Won the battle.
Like, he won the battle. Absolutely. I mean, again, you can say Grealish's first game for City, which it was, right? So all of those things play into it. But if it's a one-on-one battle, I don't love Tanganga by any means. But if I'm looking at central defenders who might play alongside Romero, he's probably the one that fits it best right now. But I think that Spurs, if they're looking for someone, they don't need another attack dog. They need someone who will be able to cover the if and when Romero doesn't actually win the ball. And that's where we've seen these links with Tapsoba and Van der Ven. Most of all, both of those fit that role. I think Tanganga doesn't. And so you might say Romero +1 right now. That would concern me because they're very similar. And I'm not sure who really fits best next to Romero from the defenders we've got.
Yeah. What about the list, though? Who would you buy?
Who would I? Well, I'd have bought Flippin and Dicker, but he went to Roma.
You can pick one from Adrian's list. There you go. Where's
the list? Where's the list? Okay, one from those. Who's Anderson? Oh, Joachim Anderson. Okay, I would go. Oh man, that is tough. I would go with. Oh man, I would go with Tapsoba.
Yeah,
I really like Kilman. I do. I think Kilman is a great ball playing centre half. He could play that role perfectly. But again, if teams are forced to just knock the ball over the top, do I trust Kilman in a one-on-one situation? Not so much. So it'll be interesting. Like what we need is someone to do what Van Dijk did for Liverpool. Van Dijk was never really under pressure, but if the ball was played over the top, he would win those battles easily every time. And if I look at those, Tapsoba is the closest. Van der Ven is tall and fast, but I'm not so sure he has the ability just now to be a first choice. Again, he's good enough, but in those one-on-one battles, I'm not so sure. So Tapsoba, I think, is the best one there.
I mean, his stats, aren't they, are far superior to Van der Ven, aren't they, from what I've seen?
I mean, again,
it's on paper.
It always with stats, it depends on which ones you look at, right? Like Van der Ven is obviously super fast, and he could. I mean, again, it's 22. Like he could easily become like we forget that we signed Vertonghen at 25, right? And Vertonghen had been a defensive midfielder, happy on the ball, playing for Ajax, went to centre back. Ajax had never really pressured that much, and it worked perfectly at 25 to make the jump. Van der Ven's had one season of top level football really in Germany. That to me is a concern. But I feel like we're having the decision between Van der Ven and Tapsoba is similar to the one that we had with Arne Slot and Postecoglou. Like Postecoglou has had years of experience doing it, more than Slot did, but it was what you were picking. Were you picking the man for now, or maybe the one that could go long term and be better? Like Arne Slot being 15 years younger than Postecoglou, you thought, okay, maybe he could be the guy to lead us for a longer time. But I just think of those options, Tapsoba's been playing Bundesliga football, Champions League football, European football for 3.5 years and done very well. That's probably the best option there. And the inexperienced ones, yeah, you may well take a flyer on them, but I don't think we can really spend serious amounts on Van der Ven if Tapsoba is there.
Well, he's not really a serious amount, is he? He's 30 million?
Maybe I'm a Spurs fan, but to me that counts as serious amounts of because we're all looking to see what we want to do. I think that spending 45 million or 40 million we spent on Porro, to me that's a significant amount of money for a fullback.
Yeah.
Right, like centre backs are probably more important, but those names like Bremer looked really good before he went to Juve, and Juve may need to sell. Itakura is young and he's left-sided. Anderson we know much more about than we do maybe the others. Maguire, Maguire, if you could get Maguire on loan, I think that might not be a bad idea. But Man United aren't looking to loan him; they're looking to sell him. So if that one's going to happen, it's going to be towards the end of August. But
Harry Kane wants Maguire.
Allegedly, yeah.
No, he does.
It would make sense. They know each other really well, and if anyone knows, Kane's trained against him, he's played against him. Maguire again doesn't have that pace really, but in a one-on-one situation, I don't mind him. When it's defending cutbacks, then I think that the Maguire might struggle, but hopefully that doesn't happen too much. But for a short-term low-risk move, signing Maguire on loan would be like signing Longley last season. It's not your long-term solution, but it's not a bad deal.
Here's one for you then. We sign Maguire and Kane signs a 2-year extension. Would you be happy with that?
Well, if we sign Maguire permanently and and Kane signs 2 years?
Yeah. The condition of the extension is you have to sign Harry Maguire.
Well, so we keep Kane for two added years, or just one more year after this one?
One more year after this one. There you go. It doesn't matter. It's a hypothetical, isn't it?
No, it does matter because you're either getting him for 2 years or 3.
All right. In this hypothetical, you're getting him for 2 years, and you have to sign Harry Maguire.
Yeah, probably would.
You do it? Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would.
Let us know in the chat who you want. There's lots of people. Saying Dave Harris, I would like Kilman. Tapsoba, yeah. What else is there? Bremer, good stats in Italy.
If you're looking to build a team long term, then probably, we haven't even mentioned him yet, but Guehi might be the best because he's still young and he's played left-sided and he's very highly rated. Again, all the Palace fans I know rave about him, but whenever I've seen Palace play, he's looked a bit undersized, and so do you know what I mean? I don't know if he can be that, because to me, I do think we want someone like Van Dijk. I think that's the kind of blueprint that Spurs need to be going for, and only some of those fit it.
In terms of who you think will actually end up signing, do you think realistically it'll be 1 or 2? Where do we think it will go?
Maybe 1 plus Longley.
One. You still think Longley's going to come?
I just think that he's the cheap option, and they know what they're getting from him, and it will wind Dave up big time. So I kind of hope it happens. I think if I was a betting man, I think they can pull the trigger on Van der Ven anytime they want. Tapsoba, I think, is a little bit more complicated. I don't see Anderson signing for us in a million years, or Nelson maybe cheap option. Kilman, no. Wolves, I don't think Wolves will sell him. They've sold Neves, and I think they're getting rid of a couple of other players already, according to my dad. So I don't think Kilman will go. Maguire is the one who's readily available. I don't know what kind of fee Man United would want for him. Maybe 30 million probably gets him. I would imagine.
But for Maguire, I think is the same age as Kane, or like just a bit older than Kane.
Yeah.
I'm not paying 30 million for him. Again, like United have to get rid of him. So if to me, like now that Ten Hag has taken the captaincy away from Maguire, it's basically said we don't want you around really. And so maybe someone like West Ham will offer big money, but maybe Maguire doesn't want to go there. And maybe Maguire will say, okay, fair enough. Like there's a whole bunch of teams that are offering, you pick, but I'll like if he decides that he wants to go and be with Kane and they get on really well and he wants to play for Spurs, then it's going to be in Maguire's hands a little bit. Yeah, 50 million for Maguire, no. I mean, that's just silly. Like, again, someone stupid like West Ham, who have now got lots of money because they've sold Rice, they might do it. But no. If you're playing the odds and you're using the negotiation, like United want rid, so why would we offer big money? No one should. It'll be a loan to buy. Do you know what I mean? Or like a loan with an option is the best that United might get. I can't imagine someone who's going to be silly enough to spend that kind of money on Maguire.
Here's where I see it going. We'll sign Van der Ven. Twitter will erupt with, it's too late. We've chosen the cheap option. And then when he's really good, they'll say they backed him from the word go and he was the man that should have been signed all along, despite everyone moaning that he's the cheap option and not very good at the time. My biggest issue with him is lack of experience, really. I mean, he's only really burst onto the scene last season. So who knows? We shall see.
It sounds awful, but if you look at that lot down the road, and I don't like it, but they've done very well in the last few years, and they spent a lot of money on Ben White, and we all laughed, and we said 50 million for Ben White. And you know what? Ben White as a centre-back didn't help them at all. He's not that good. Saliba has been better at centre-back than Ben White was. But Ben White as that hybrid right-back centre-back is perfect for them. So it's worked out, really. They didn't sign him to be a right-back. But if Spurs are looking to build, then they have to, get it right. And obviously, you would hope that the more money that you're buying a better player. That doesn't always work like that, but you would hope that's the way it could work. So I want to take that back. You just want to get the right player. Forget how much they actually cost. But I think that Spurs should be looking at, if they've said that Tapsoba is the one that they want, or he fits best, then if Leverkusen are asking for 50 mil, then you go for it. That's it. I do believe that. But that doesn't mean that the second choice will be a lot worse. But if other teams are investing and deciding, Spurs can do the same. And when it comes to centre-backs, we haven't invested in centre-backs at all. It's been 2 years since we signed Romero. We haven't signed a left-footed centre-back like permanently since who? Wimmer? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's been a long time since we signed a left-footed centre-back. So that's where all the money that Spurs spend between now and the end of the season should go.
I think we have spent big on Romero when he came across, didn't we? What was he, about 55 million?
But that's 2 years ago.
No, I suppose what I'm saying is it's not like we won't spend on the right player.
Yeah.
Porro, as you pointed out, 45 million for a right back is big money. It's a lot of money. So I suppose we should have general confidence from that we have got the money and we will spend it if we want the right person. Personally, go get Tapsoba, have done with it. If you have to sign Longley as a reserve option for the season, I'm all right with that. But we've got to get.
Who's going to go?
Left centre back position.
Yeah, but who's going to go? Who's going to make room? Because obviously we already know we've got this extremely bloated squad. So is it a case of waiting for some exits before we get our man in, or what's going on there? Because if we sign Tapsoba, we sign Lingley, then we've got who we've got left in.
Well, I think Tagaga's been keen on going. To be honest, for the last couple of years, really, and I think he needs to go because he's never going to get first team football. So I think he'll go. I think Sanchez, they're trying to sell him, I believe. Dyer is very quiet. I think he may well be there this year. I think he will be there this year, and then potentially leave on a free if we don't renew his contract. So don't forget, you've still got Sessegnon, HG's favourite player, Perisic, who potentially is talking about leaving. So, and that's just scratching the surface, really. I don't think getting players out will be that big a problem. Either whether it's on loan or transferred, that's a different story. Yeah. But I think there will be a lot of departures. If you remember last season, it all came very last minute, didn't it? Because clubs are weighing up their options.
I think Sanchez would be the first one out the door because I think that he's okay with the idea of it, and I think there are teams that are willing to pay some money. I mean that's pretty brutal, but I think that's what it would be. If we then got a second, then you're looking at either Dyer or Tanganga. But I suspect it would be Tanganga out on loan because he needs games, and then Dyer might well hang around as being the fourth, fifth choice, whatever he would be for centre back. There doesn't appear to be any desire on Dyer's part to leave, and he's going to be a free agent next year in the same way that Harry Kane will be. But if you're looking at, again, I've forgotten Rodon. I think Rodon will go no matter what.
Yeah.
But I think that if you're looking at the ones that were in those two teams we talked about earlier.
I quoted the summer. I forgot Rodon. I forgot Rodon existed.
Yeah. So, but it feels like if you sign one, you sell Sanchez. If you sign a second, we may not be able to sell Tanganga. But if you're Tanganga, you're thinking, I need game time. So a loan would work best for him. And then Dyer hangs around. So you'd be left with Romero, new signing, and Dyer as your four options at the back. And Dyer's not as aggressive as Romero, but it's not a terrible option to be the rotation option if Romero gets suspended or whatever, as long as you have someone to cover for him because he doesn't have the pace to get back himself. But we all know with Dyer is that if the ball's in front of him, he's pretty good. But if the ball is behind him, we're in trouble. And hopefully under Ange, the ball will be in front of him most of the time.
Yeah. Quite. What about Davis? Does he stay? Does he go?
Mr. Reliable, he'll be there.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go.
He doesn't want to go. He's a utility. He's what used to be termed as a utility player, isn't he? He can fill a lot of gaps. And he, like I said, he gives you a 6 or a 7 out of 10. He's very average. He's been average his whole career. He frustrates the life out of me. He really does. But he will be there. I'm resigned to it. I'm not going to moan about it. My head's not going to explode.
No, there are too many reasons to keep Davies around. He may not play that much, but again, has Davies ever really been first choice? For most of his Spurs career, it felt like there's always been someone. And so, when we played 3 at the back under Conte, was probably the only time that he made a position his own. When he played a lot at left back, it was usually because Rose was injured. But even last season, he came in and proved that he was probably our best wing back in the system in the system that Conte was playing. He was that best person there. So, there's no reason to upset Davies at all. I think he's happy at the club. I guess he's on the tour, but I don't think I haven't seen him in any of the pictures.
I think I have.
But I just feel like to me, if you're looking at the 4 left backs that we have, which is to me, it's that counts as Udogie, Reguilon, Sessegnon, and Davies. Sessegnon is the one that needs to go, right? Yeah. I think Perisic is further forward.
And not just because HG dislikes him, but I agree with him completely. He's the weakest one out of the lot, isn't he? But the problem is he's got another surgery on him. You ain't going to shift him.
No, but again, that's fine. I understand that we can't. In a perfect world, that would be the case. But I just feel that the club surely have realised that even when he is fit, something has felt wrong. So, and I don't see him as a fullback, and I don't see him as a winger. And if those are the two situations that Ange is going to have, then where does he fit? like you could imagine him being a wing back in a system, but I don't think he ever really showed that at Spurs. So it's something again, Sessegnon, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. I've got nothing against him, but if I look at those four players, Udogie is younger, has more potential. Davies is the experienced one, and Reguilon is the one who actually has experience of playing in a 4-3-3. That works. I think that Sessegnon, even if he wasn't injured, would find himself as the odd one out.
Okay. So next thing then is club captain. Obviously, Hugo's going to go. It's obvious now. Angie was asked in the press conference about the captain. Has been asked in both press conferences. Where do we think that's going to go? HG, assuming Kane stays. Let's start with that. If Kane goes, we'll do both.
Like I've always felt weirdly that Højbjerg was probably the best suited
because he waves his arms.
No, it's not just that. It's the fact that like he's in this like if you decide that goalkeepers shouldn't be captains, right, which a lot of people think, right, but if you decide that, then you want someone who, frankly, is involved in things. That to me, this is traditional, but that does mean centre half. It does mean central midfield. You don't want your strikers worrying about that sort of thing. You want your strikers worrying about football, right? So I just feel that probably Højbjerg would be the best fit. But if he's not around, then it becomes very, very unclear as to who the captain should be, if I'm honest. Maybe Bentancur.
It's a good shout.
I think Bentancur has that, like... I think he's got the respect of all the players. I think he's proven himself in the Premier League to be a very good player. I suspect he will suit Ange Ball very well when he is fit. And yeah, I think Bentancur would be a pretty good choice. I don't, again, it sounds awful. I don't know what he's like. We never see him interviewed really. We haven't seen that. But if you're looking for someone who kind of fits the bill as being a bit of everything, then maybe Bentancur would be that guy.
Yeah. We've had a super question. I don't know what the term is for this caller. Super question. Super chat come in. So we'll go straight to that. And I'll ask both of you this question from Luca. I guess who is the best player in the world? I'm guessing is the question.
I think so.
Harry Kane. Gotta say that, haven't I? He's certainly the best striker in the world. Ronaldo and Messi are past their peak. You'd have to say probably Kane would be in the reckoning, but probably Mbappe, I would say. In terms of all round.
It's funny, like I think a lot of people wouldn't say Kane. And like Spurs fans are lucky in the fact that we do see him week in, week out. And most people don't. But we know genuinely how good he is. And if he was playing that way for a more global team, if he was playing like that week in, week out for Real Madrid or Barcelona or whoever, he would have much bigger shout in this. For Kane to play as he did for the whole season in the football that we had last year was incredible. And you're right, caller, Ronaldo and Messi, who have been the best two players that I can remember. I mean, not because my memory doesn't go that far back, but just genuinely incredible footballers, absolutely dedicated to the game and to being the best. After that, there is kind of a void. And Mbappe, as good as he has been at World Cups, that's all that anyone's ever really seen of him, is at World Cup, is at tournament football. We don't watch PSG, and PSG haven't done that great in the Champions League. I mean, they got to the final under Tuchel, but like at some point you would think that you would see it more often. So the best player in the world right now, I do think Kane has a very good shout, but I think it's dependent on the fact that everyone else is kind of not showing their best selves. And with Kane not being in the Champions League, I mean, the same is probably true of him right now.
I think Mbappe is the most talented player at the top right now.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I really do. Like it surprises me. Like I was surprised when Mbappe signed for PSG in the first place. Even at 19, 20, I thought that was a weird, somewhat sideways move. Although he was guaranteeing himself lots of money, it felt like, big fish, tiny pond thing. And although they put bigger fish in that pond to join him, it still feels like big fish, tiny pond. And then last summer, when he could have gone on free, I was like, great, this makes sense. You're 23 years old. You go off and play for the best teams in world football. And again, he didn't. He took the money and stayed put. So that has kind of affected a little bit. I would like to see him more in a more competitive league. I don't want to see him play against Spurs. Let's be honest. I don't want to see him at Man City.
You'd also have to put Haaland in the reckoning, wouldn't you? Right now,
I think. I mean, like,
and maybe De Bruyne.
Yeah, I mean, again, like De Bruyne is a wonderful player. Haaland is a fantastic goal scorer, right? I mean, I think that's it. I think he's a fantastic goal scorer. But overall game, I think Kane beats him quite easily. Frankly, Kane is much more two-footed. But I just think, historically, I'm Team Messi, right? Like, Messi to me is the greatest I will probably ever see. I genuinely believe that. But yeah, right now there is kind of a vacuum as we wait for the next superstar to really take over.
There you go.
Yeah. And another super chat as well. Just, I think he's given us his view here. Luca, thank you for that.
Yeah, cheers, Luca. Yeah, I mean, those are all fantastic players. They really are. But I would think for Messi to be the standard he was. I mean, I don't know too much about how he was in France, but the 15 years we saw at Barcelona, I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, I watched Messi against. I'm sure a lot of the people in the chat were there as well at Wembley when Messi played against Spurs, and it felt like Messi was playing against Spurs.
Yeah,
he was absolutely unplayable that night, tore us to pieces. And if I'm honest, I don't like watching Spurs lose. I had a big smile on my face all night, because you just watch greatness, absolute greatness. You couldn't, deny that. I came away happy knowing that I'd seen the best player I've ever seen, best player in my opinion in the world ever, and he tore my team to pieces. But he was so great to watch.
No, I mean, it's weird. Like, I went to the game in Barcelona, and at that point, Barcelona were already through, and Spurs were obviously, are we going to make it? Are we not? But part of me was genuinely disappointed that I knew Messi wasn't going to play the whole game because I really wanted to see Messi. And he came on, and I feel like for that half an hour, 35 minutes that he was on, I had half an eye on him the whole game. I was more watching to see what he was doing than the game itself, because at that point Spurs were 1-0 down and I wasn't sure if we were going to come back. But yeah, you're right. Messi, to me, plays almost a different sport to everyone else.
Yeah.
And I think Ronaldo is almost unfortunate to be playing at the same time as Messi, because Ronaldo is pretty much the football that you would design, right? I mean, he's tall and he's two-footed and he's fast and he's smart. And Messi, in many ways is not what you would design a footballer to be. But his ability to make decisions and to be in the right spot, to me, is unmatched.
Here's a question: Portuguese Ronaldo or R9?
See, I don't feel like I watched R9 enough. And that sounds, I mean, I was alive, he's about the same age as me, but I just, whether it was injuries or whether it was I feel like when he played Serie A wasn't really shown, or La Liga wasn't really shown in the UK. So I don't have a great basis of who he was. And the 2002 World Cup, I didn't watch any of it. So Ronaldo the original Ronaldo, to me, is almost this myth, because I never really got to see it. But you can't argue with what the other Ronaldo has done. I mean, playing in the Euros at 17 for Portugal, signing for Man United, being 11 years at Real Madrid, incredible, absolutely incredible. But that's a call I can't really make because I never saw the original Ronaldo that much.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Pele, obviously a wonderful player. Maradona always comes to mind, when you talk about all-time greats. But the reality of that is, I didn't see those players live in the flesh, so it's a bit.
Yeah,
I can only really talk
Maradona's
about
before my time too. I mean, that's it. right? Like, Maradona was what, 12? I was 12 when Italia 90 happened. Most of Maradona's career had been gone by that point. I've seen documentaries about Maradona, and he looked amazing, but you didn't see the longevity that you saw from Messi for various reasons, right? I mean, obviously for various reasons, but I can't make that call. The best player that for example, the best player I remember, which is probably from, let's say, Premier League onwards, 92 was when I really started watching football a lot. Messi wins, and it's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And that's not to take away from Maradona. It really isn't. Mm. It's just I can't judge that. I wasn't around to see it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. All right. So then, where next? Where should we go next?
To bed, I think.
Yeah, that's good. It's been a good hour and a half. I am knackered. I mean, Elea got me up at 4:30. Call. I know you can relate to that.
I can absolutely relate to that.
Yeah. It's been
tragic. Tragic.
Yeah. Oh God, she's wide awake as well. She would not go back to sleep for love nor money.
I know.
So awful. But yeah, no. Well, thanks for coming on, HG. Thanks for coming on, Caller. It's been a good show, and then we'll see what tomorrow brings in terms of the game. Can you do score predictions on a friendly? Can we do score predictions?
Let's finish on that now. Let's do score predictions. Yeah. Let us know in the chat as well. What's your score predictions?
Yeah. Where you got then? Who's going to go first? HG, you go first. Lay down the line.
Well, I would usually say 2-1 home win, but no one's at home. I think it will probably be 2-1 Spurs. I will say that it's a home game for us because we've got Ange. So 2-1.
I think we'll win 3-1. Yeah, Bowen will score. Kane will score. Be great.
You're hoping to clip that prediction. I'm going to go.
I'm always hoping. Yeah, always hoping that we win. So I just think we'll play fast and furious football, and I think West Ham won't be able to handle it because they're shit.
Yeah, I think we'll blow them away 4-2. I'm going to go for. We'll score 4 goals.
No Rice either.
What are you saying? That West Ham are now a championship team like Leicester will be, and we're just going to
until they. I mean, by rights, if it wasn't for him, they probably would have gone down, wouldn't they? So I'm just excited. This is my hope for the season. I hope that we never see Harry Kane hit a free kick this season, presuming he stays. I just hope that Maddison has got this nailed for us now, and we don't have to witness Kane taking free kicks ever again. That's my one.
Do you think Kane will kind of defer to Maddison now that he knows Maddison well enough to be like, okay, you're the best person for this?
I think he'll have to wrestle the ball off him, to be honest.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's an interesting comment here from Cam. I know we got to go, but. Like West Ham have already played a game in pre-season. I guess they played an Australian team a few nights ago, and they look sharp because they probably it's not been that long since they won the Conference League, sadly. But I don't know. I think for Spurs, I would usually go 1-1 in pre-season because it doesn't really matter too much. And sometimes you see high-scoring games that don't matter too much. But it's all about what do Spurs do? Can we put West Ham under pressure? Are we good enough as a unit to be able to do that? Because I think if we do, West Ham might struggle. And ball again, as much as it's not a competitive game, they won't want to look stupid either. So it's going to be interesting to watch. It really will be.
I'm excited for it. All right, so then, guys. Well, I guess the last thing to say tonight is, come on, you Spurs, and see you for the watch along tomorrow.
Come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you MF.